Hello F11 members and welcome to the Fundamentals of Post-Production video tutorials for issue 64. What I would like to do with you today is process this image to accompany the Behind the Lens feature and video blog part 3 of our adventures from Argentina. And what you see on the screen here is the finished image. And what I'd like to do is show you now where I started. Now this on the left is the picture straight out of the camera, and as you can see, the stunning scene and lovely light, but distance haze is really robbing the image of all its impact. Those mountains in the distance are the Andes at their highest, rising up to well over 5,000 meters. So they're a long, long way away. So unsurprisingly, there's a bit of distance haze in the shot. Now we can take care of that, but doing so in a subtle manner and a believable manner is the key. So let's work through the whole shoot, and I'll talk you through what I've done to it. So I'm going to reset the image and go back to loop view. And now the first thing I do, as always with an image, is now what I've started doing recently is bringing in this preset on import here. I call it DMP1, and essentially what it does is add just a touch of vibrance and sharpening to the image and a touch of masking. I talked you through that in the video tutorials last month. It's just things that I do to every image, so it's saving time to apply that preset on import. And as you can see, here's the vibrance at +6, and if I come down here to my sharpening, it's brought in a touch of masking and it's applied the sharpening preset that I always use. Okay, so that's that. Let's go back up now to the top of the develop module, and as usual the first thing I'm going to do is adjust my blacks. So I hold down the shift key and move the black key to the left until I start to see that I'm clipping my blacks there in the lower part of the image, and I can go to around about -19 or so on my blacks before that's a problem. I'm going to do the same with my whites, but I'm going to be a bit radical here. Again, hold down the shift key, move the whites to the right, and fairly soon I start to clip highlights in the sky there. But I'm not too concerned about just those few little bits there, those red bits there, because I'm going to recover those subsequently using my grad tool. What I'm really concerned with now is the bottom of the image here, the vineyards. So what I'm going to do now is just add a little bit of darken that down just a touch by using the tone curve there. And now I'm going to look at the top part of the image. I'm fairly pleased with the bottom of the image there. It's got nice blacks and nice contrast. So let's use the grad tool here, and by selecting the grad tool and holding down the shift key here, I ensure that the grad is applied level. And I'm now going to just make sure that it's a nice soft gradation there. And the first thing I'm going to do is, as always, just pull those highlights back that I was clipping there. So basically I've retrieved those highlights there that I clipped by adjusting my white point for the whole of the image. What I've done is improved the contrast in the bottom of the image, and now I've retrieved the clipped highlights in the top of the image. Next thing I'm going to do is use the dehaze slider here. Now this is really key to this image, how far to go. As you can see, if I go way over to anything more than 50, it's looking pretty gruesome. The thing is with haze, in a landscape like this, we expect to see some. If we take it all out, the picture is going to look unrealistic and overcooked. The other thing is, as you can see, I'm using the grad tool to take the haze out, because haze is not an issue in the foreground. It's only in the distance that it's a problem. So I'm going to make sure we've got a nice soft gradation there. I'm going to dial in about plus 40 of dehaze, and I'm just going to also pull back the exposure a little bit, darken it down just a touch, round about there now, and put in a little bit of contrast as well. And I think we're starting to get where I want to be with this picture. The trouble is the dehazer has put some really nice, has basically eliminated a fair bit of the haze, not all of it, but it's also forced the colours to go a little bit treacly. So I'm just going to use the desaturation slider there to come back just a touch on the colours to ensure that we haven't got an overcooked image there. Now, I reckon that's looking pretty good. There's a gradation here. You can see where this dehazer is being applied. But really, we would expect that. You often get haze sat low on a landscape. I think it looks relatively natural. But what I'm just going to do now is just use the mask, show the mask overlay. And now if I come to my brush tool here and click on erase down here, I'm just going to brush away, erase away the effect of the dehazer on this area of the image here. The effect of the grad tool in particular on this area of the image, really, the trees here in the foreground. Now that looks all fairly gruesome at the moment, but if I click back off the mask overlay, I think that looks good to me. I've brought back some of the detail here in those trees, and I'm quite pleased with how this picture's come together. So I can click on that done, and now look at the image and ask myself, really, is there anything else that needs doing? The obvious one is these, this basically power cables, telephone masts, whatever it is, just here and here. That's a job for Wendy in Photoshop. She will come along and take those out. She's very good at it. And by the way, I've had a suggestion from one of our F11 members, Randy Mass, that we draft Wendy in for one of these post-production video tutorials to take us through how she does this. And I think that's a great idea, so I've just got to negotiate with her, get her on board for next month or the month after, and we will certainly do that. As always, we really, really welcome your suggestions on what you would like to see in these video tutorials. Okay, this has been a relatively straightforward post-production job, but the key is to do it subtly. Now, it's easy to show you how to do things. It's the decisions that we make that are key. And with the use of Lightroom's dehazer is a very, very flexible tool, but also easy to go over the top with it. So I'm pleased with how this picture's come together. Again, show you the before and after, and that's the result. Okay, in part 2, we'll be working on another picture. Thank you. See you there.